All right, Kevin, back with you today for another $1 Million Relationships interview. And I am really excited for this conversation. Melvin, we finally get to catch up. You're back in the States, and I'm really glad that you fit this in because I never know where in the world you're going to be and when we're going to talk. So I'm glad we fit this in, and welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you for your friendship and just being you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Melvin, I feel the same way. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So I'm going to give the listeners a little bit of context here because Melvin and I, we met through our mutual friend, Perry Marshall. And you know, this whole thing about $1 Million Relationships, it's comes with the understanding that, relationships are the most valuable asset we possess as an entrepreneur. And when we have that shared connection, as in your case, in my case, our friend Perry, who I can't speak for you, but I can certainly speak for me. When it comes to Perry, I place the highest amount of trust in Perry and things that he would recommend for me because we go back so far and that trust is there. And so then when he's like, Kev, you should come to this thing in Chicago that I'm doing, and this friend of mine, Melvin, is going to be there, and you really need to be there for this right now because Melvin is what he's going to be sharing is going to be totally for you. And he's like, it's going to be a small thing. There's just going to be he's like probably less than 12 people there, and I want you to be there. And I'm like, all right, I'm there. And so went to that day, and man, I'll tell you, I was doing some searching at that time, Melvin. I was looking for some direction. I was looking for some clarity. I was trying to figure out, okay, I know there's something that I'm supposed to be doing that's playing a bigger game than I was at that time, but I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it looked like, and I will tell you, man, we've made a whole lot of strides since then. We've got a lot of clarity. We've and of course, doing this podcast is definitely one of those things. This is a piece of that. And so I want to thank you for that and for the impact that you had on my life that day at Perry's. And of course, the friendship that we've had ever since. We don't get to talk a lot. You are a world traveler, and you're just on the go. And I was sharing this with you before we started recording, but I'm going to share it again. I have these moments, and I know there's a lot of them where I feel I'm like totally in flow. Doing this podcast, talking with entrepreneurs, any good conversation with an entrepreneur, I'm in flow, man. I love that stuff. But then, there's other days too where I wake up and I'm just like, I'm just not feeling it today. I just need to take some time for me and just relax today because I'm not feeling it. But Melvin is one of those guys that I've just always envisioned that he's like always in flow, man. I mean, like from the time he gets up to the time he goes to bed, and probably when he sleeps too, he's in flow. So with that, Melvin, I would like to just turn it over to you a little bit and let you share a little bit about, what you do, who you serve, what motivates you to do what you do, and just kind of let everybody know who is Melvin Pillay.
Oh, thank you, Kev. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much once again for your friendship. I think the best way to describe who I am and what I do, Kevin, is I'm a friend to people. I have discovered that people need something, and that something is a true, genuine friend. And when I started business, I actually found that secret, that around people, they had coaches, they had advisors, they had tons of consultants, but what they were looking for is a friend. And I found this in a remarkable way. I met with a billionaire. In the conversation, I noticed that billionaire, his closest friend was his dog. And it really struck me because everybody around that man wanted something. And even those that didn't want something, they looked up to him. That man had nobody to talk to.
Wow.
And so he spoke to his dog. So who am I? I'm a friend to people. My journey started off in rural South Africa, as a matter of fact, Kevin. I was a very lonely young boy. Loneliness followed me around, and we grew up in poverty in South Africa. I often joke with people, we were so poor growing up, we used to go to KFC and lick other people's fingers. But seriously, life was hard. And thankfully, I had a mother who so inspired me to believe in myself. And so the first person who really inspired this tiny little poor boy was his mother. And I just want to say to everybody out there, always honor your parents. Sometimes our parents don't always give us the best advice or do the best, but there's something about honoring the office that your parent is in that truly makes your life better than good.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow. That's so, it's both of my parents are passed away. We lost my dad when I was just 16 in 10th grade.
Wow.
And he got diagnosed with cancer when at the beginning of my 9th grade year, and he passed away at the end of my 10th grade year. And over that year and a half, I watched him slowly deteriorate. And I had a lot of conversations with him before he passed away, and I cried a lot with him and without him before he passed away. And when he finally passed away, though, it was like this relief that he was finally out of his pain, And my mom was so strong. And my mom was kind of the disciplinarian when I was growing up. But once my dad passed away, something shifted. And like before that, when she was the disciplinarian, a lot of my friends, they didn't like coming over to my house because my mom was very strict, and she laid down the law and all this. But after dad passed away, something shifted for her, and she just got, I don't know, way more lax, way more at ease. And I think too, she would talk to me because I was the older of her and my brother. And she would tell me, Kevin, you're the man of the house now, and I'm counting on you to help with certain things. And so because she spoke to me that way and said, you're the man of the house. And I'm like, well, I need to step into this role. If my mom believes that I am this person,
yes,
I better be this person, And it was really cool because that shift happened. And all of a sudden my friends, they liked coming over and they're like, man, your mom, she's so cool now, And so when you're talking about your own mom, I don't really share too much on these podcasts because it's usually all about the guest, but you just inspired me, Melvin, because my mom was pretty doggone awesome,
Yes.
I will always respect and honor the impact that both her and my father had on my life. So let's shift gears a little bit here. I know you were talking about your mom, but I'm sure there's somebody else that you're probably thinking about too. And so I'll reiterate the question for the benefit of anybody listening. Have you ever been introduced to a person that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person? And
absolutely,
I am really excited to hear your story, your experience around this, and give you the opportunity to honor somebody who has had such a profound impact on your life and on your business.
Absolutely, Kevin. And I met him through what I call a miracle. There's no other way I could describe that. I was a dead broke salesperson in Auckland, New Zealand, sleeping in the company in the company. I was literally sleeping in the boardroom, under the boardroom table at the alarm company. I used to go door to door selling house burglar alarms.
Okay.
Dead broke. One day, I decided to go out door knocking. I found myself at a public library in Auckland, New Zealand. Something is prompting my heart to go into this library. So I go in and I have the sense to look at the audiobook section. I find an audio cassette tape with the man with the most interesting name, Zig Ziglar. Now, Kevin, I'm sure you and your listeners would know that tape cost $2 to rent.
Yeah.
Now, $2 is a lot of money when you don't have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God I had one. I had $2. I rented the tape. I popped that tape into my cassette player. From the time he opened his mouth till the end, I wept. I never heard a man speak like that. He started to talk to me. And I can still remember his words when he said, I wish I could put my arms around you, look you in your eyes, and tell you that I believe in you, because I truly do.
Wow.
Those words impacted this little boy, this dead broke salesman, to finally believe in himself. You see, I was really good. I was a good person in many ways, not good in all ways. But the one thing I didn't have, Kevin, I didn't have that inner belief that I could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this man on an audio cassette tape telling me, you can do it. He said some amazing things, but he came to the end of his cassette recording, end of his session. He said these words, and I will see you at the top. That was his signature line.
Yes.
And I said to him, Mr. Ziglar, I don't know who you are. Tears down, I'm crying. I'm saying to him, one day, I pointed to the tape recorder and said, one day, Mr. Ziglar, I am going to stand on the same stage you are, and I am going to speak like you. Well, Kevin, I listened to that tape every day. Within 18 months, I became the top salesperson, sales manager. Eventually, I had my own dealership.
Wow. Wow.
And then 7 years later, as the miracle unfolds, I came to Dallas, Texas to a seminar. And I was just sitting, I was just a guest. I was sharing this testimony as such to the group. Somebody heard me. They said, young man, you need to go onto the platform and share this with the entire auditorium. I do. And Zig Ziglar is in the audience.
Wow. Wow.
He was in the audience. And I came down off the platform. His vice president comes up to me, grabs me, hugs me, and says, young man, you need to come work with us. So I got certified, trained as a Zig Ziglar speaker, trainer, coach today. I'm still a Zig Ziglar Platinum speaker. So that's the man who transformed my life.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
Yeah. Wow. What an amazing story. And how cool is that, that you're at this event and he's in the audience and you get to meet him and they now have a relationship with him. And wow, that is so amazing. That is amazing. And, you know, I want to dig just a little bit deeper because, you know, I know a little bit about the work that you do now. And like you said, you just are people's friends. And yeah, I know that, you know, a few years back when you came to that event that I held in Dallas, and Ian was there and Joel was there and a couple other people were there. But after that couple days, you know, these guys were following up with me. And in fact, I know I've heard Joel talk about you in public, having met this guy in Dallas that, oh my gosh, this guy his clients are like the leaders of nations, you know. And he was just like, and he said, but yet he's just so down to earth and he's like, the guy, I just love the guy, you know. And so, you know, to go from this boy who just found this tape and started listening to this tape and this evolution that you've gone through to now doing what you do. And I want to remind listeners here, we are talking about one relationship. And I can only imagine how many lives have been impacted through you, through the work that you do, through the people that you serve. And so I want to kind of, you know, like just share one experience that has happened, that has unfolded, that you know would have never happened had you not had this relationship and now this ongoing training that you've had through Zig Ziglar, you know, that would have never happened if that would have never been in place. And just, you know, one thing that really comes to mind and stands out for you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Through the Zig Ziglar connection and relationship, I trained, spoke, got into business, got into motivational speaking, got into advisory and all the good stuff. I decided at that time to do an online radio program. So I went ahead and did that. And it wasn't that successful, but I felt in my heart to do it because I just wanted to bring hope to people. I always thought somewhere out there in the world, there'd be one boy, one girl listening who'd be inspired. Well, it so happened after a couple of weeks, I got an email from a girl in Bordeaux, France.
Okay.
He said to me, hello, Melvin, I'm so-and-so. I heard your message and I'm so inspired. If you ever come to France, I'd so love to see you. It so happened that we were going to Europe, my wife and I, and we ended up in France and we ended up in Bordeaux, France. And we got to meet this young lady, spoke to her for 3 days. She cried. She said, are you telling me that you work with all these people? You came all this way to see me, one little girl in Bordeaux, France. I'm not even employed. Kevin, I spent 3 days, my wife and I spent 3 days with this young lady, and we coached and mentored and spoke and blessed her with positivity and life. Encouraged her, and she said these words to me, I believe, I believe. A month or two later, she got a job at a government organization leading the prime ministers and prime presidents to their seats. She worked for the G8 summit. She worked for the United Nations.
Wow.
And here's the thing, Kevin, this young lady connected me with a gentleman in a nation who the two of them were friends, this French-speaking nation. That gentleman is now close to becoming the president of his nation.
Wow.
And that gentleman and I are now best friends. As a matter of fact, he just messaged me not even an hour ago. He's way up there. He is going to be the president of his nation.
Wow.
So Kevin, you say it all the time, and I believe it with all my heart. Relationships matter.
Yes. Yeah. Relationships are the most valuable asset that we have, and everything else stems from that. And,
yes.
You know, there's always been two focuses of this podcast. You know, one, giving entrepreneurs like yourself the opportunity to share your story and experience. But on the other side, for the listener, I just want to inspire and motivate them to place a more intentional focus on creating more real, meaningful, and profitable relationships in their lives. And we have certainly achieved that here today. So Melvin, I want to thank you so much. I always enjoy our conversations. I just love who you are and the way you show up. You are like, I have never once seen you not in flow, you know. So for anybody else listening to this going, man, Kevin, Melvin is absolutely amazing, man. I'd love to learn more about him. How can people find out? How can people follow up with you or find out more about where you are going to be in the world or what you're doing or what have you?
Thank you. My website, melvinpillay.com, is the easiest way, and you'll find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, all social media. I'm
Awesome.
there waiting to make another friend.
There you go. There you go. Well, Melvin, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. Anything else you want to share before we call it a wrap, or are you good?
Oh, Kev, I just want to thank you for what you do. You, from the first time I met you, you are still the same in this regard. Not only do you make friends, but what I love about you, Kevin, is you know how to be a friend. And that's worlds apart, being a friend. And I just want to say this to you. Thank you for your heart of service. It's just amazing the words that you speak about serving and friendship and relationships and how important it is in this current age. Friendships matter, relationships matter. Thank you for being a friend.
Well, my pleasure. You're welcome. And Melvin, thank you for being you. I mean, I just love and appreciate you too, man.
Thank you, brother.